Hi everyone. I needed an excuse to rewatch each Star Wars one more time, so I asked myself the following question. What's the most beautiful shot of the saga? And mark my words, I said most beautiful. I'm not looking for the best moment of Star Wars, but purely the most aesthetically stunning shots. So I picked one for each episode, and since we're talking aesthetic, this is gonna be more subjective than ever. So let me know in the comments what would be yours. Episode 1, here we go. Some of the introduction shots of Otogunga are truly magical, with a fairy tale vibe. And same for those of Theed, that perfectly blend the marvelous miniature models with the computer-generated ones. Speaking of real model, the one of the pod race introduction is Joe dropping. And that is during the race that we can find a series of shots that I love. When the pods go full speed across the desert, with the side shot revealing their reflection in mirages. We can feel the intensity and danger of racing, which was actually one of George Lucas' important thematics as he was himself fond of racing. I do agree that some of the Phantom Menace CG effects age poorly, but the pod race still holds up, so it has my choice. There was also that one, but whatever, had to make a choice. Episode 2. Again, there's a wonderful establishing shot of the arena, as big as is the model carved by the miniature crew. The Geonosis battle also features some great shots that made the Clone Troopers charismatic for many 2000s kids, myself included. Of course, there's also this blood-red sunset on Tatooine, but I'll cover this thematic a bit later. Instead, I'll rather go for the shots in Naboo, which are not only amazing, but also give me an excuse to brag a little bit by telling that I've been there in real life. Yep, that is 18 years old me, happier than ever. George Lucas scouted this place during his holidays in Italy and brought the crew there to shoot Padme's retreat sequences. Let's keep moving with episode 3, and I have to highlight its very first shot, which follows the Jedi starfighters all along the endless Venator cruiser before diving into space battle chaos. That's an exhilarating start at each viewing. Once more, model makers did an incredible job. Whether with the Kashyyyk introduction and its huge warship trees, or with Utopo's marvelous sinkholes through the planet's crust. There's also the blazing colors in Coruscant, where the buildings shine towards Anakin and Padme's faces. Speaking of sunset, there's a beautiful homage to the binary sunset, but I'll get back to it in a second. It is once the night settled that this shot of Order 66 is just frightening, and perfectly stars the cult sequence. I give it my top pick, with still a honorable mention for Darth Vader's birth. Alright, now this is where the fun begins, since even though I'm a big prequels fan, I can't deny that the massive use of CG shots restricts creativity given by live-action shots. So it is with great pleasure that we move on to episode 4. I love the impressive look of some of the space shots, but of course I simply can't place anything top else than the binary sunset. It is the quintessential location symbol, and one he's used again and again throughout his filmography, right up to Star Wars. But it is in that scene that it shines the brightest, embodying both the yearning for adventure and the call to the unknown. Plus, the official making-of reveals that, like a coincidence, it was one of the hardest shots to do due to constantly shifting weather.
Very last day we were there, the last shot we did is the shot of Luke Skywalker looking up at the two suns setting. There was one in there and good old ILM laid in the second one. And we stood there and I watched the shot as the sun went down and we got it. And the minute the sun dropped, it started raining. And I said, we had to get off the salt flat or we get stuck because the crust breaks and it turns into grease.
For episode 5, the Empire is more terrifying than ever, with the superb walkers. ILM artists really nailed it perfectly so that the miniature AT-ATs look massive and menacing. Also, the shimmering colors from the arrival on Bespin are gorgeous, but to me the best lies inside the Cloud City. Vader, his silhouette perfectly outlined in smoke, standing against a mix of blue and orange atmosphere, symbolizing Luke's two possible paths. What a charisma, what an insane set, and what a masterclass in shot composition. Peak Star Wars, as some would say. We're getting to the end with episode 6. There's a ton of cult shots from the Endor space battle, whether outside or inside the Death Star, but I'd rather go for shots from the throne room sequence. I can't help but love this set, with Palpatine throning around those vast windows. I reckon it was really this close to being as iconic as the freezing chamber from last episode, but I love it almost as much. To be honest though, episode 6 felt for me less prolific in terms of pure visual beauty, so I'm more than curious to hear your thoughts. And that's a wrap for me. I don't really care about the other films, so I won't pretend like I wish to go in depth with Disney's movies, sorry. Instead, here's a quick mashup of visually interesting ideas from that new era. I hope you've enjoyed the video and learned some bits about Star Wars production. If you're interested in this behind the scenes stuff, check out the documentaries I made on the channel. To finish with, if I had to pick one shot among the selection, it will logically be the binary sunset, which, like many other fans, is my saga's favorite, since it sums it up so well. See you next time.